Okay, can you see my screen okay?
Beautifully.
Perfect. Okay, so I'll tell you a little bit about what's happening at UNSW. We have the UNSW Data Science Hub, or UDASH, and I'll tell you a little bit more about the acronym later on, because marketing loves it. I was very happy to see the presentations by Kerry and Yoni being completely different as well. I was a little bit worried that they'd all be similar. We'd all have the same structures and stuff like that. So I was hoping my presentation would be slightly different. So hopefully I'll contribute to that trend. So where are we in our journey? I guess for UNSW, we initially started things in February 2020. So that's when the first placeholder web page went up that the hub existed. And we'd advertise for some positions, postdocs and some administration. That was in February 2020, and we're just about to start the shortlisting for interviewing. And then, of course, COVID hit everybody, and all the money disappeared. And then we thought that was it. We timed it really badly, and now it was all over. Around October last year, we started to get the idea that things might be recoverable in 2021. And so since then, we've been building up the case within UNSW. And I've now got to the point where we've made some appointments. We have some space, which I'll talk about later, and we're in the process now of getting UNSW to agree that we're actually a real official research centre, which, as everybody knows who's gone through this process, is all the forms and all the administration. So there's plenty of that to go through. But like all the other centres, we have probably similar aims. So this should be no surprise. So like everyone else, UNSW wants to be a recognized national leader in data science, and of course we're all leaders together here. But when we're talking to our individual universities, we are the leader. Similarly, we want to sort of enhance what's going on in UNSW. We've got a lot of people with math skills, stat skills, computer science skills, who can really help with and learn from people who sort of have more applied domains. So it's about bringing those together as teams and sort of enhancing what's going on within UNSW. But then also the usual outreach, working with external partners in government, industry, philanthropy, other centres, and of course all the stuff that universities like to see, as in bringing in all the money. So the structure that we have is fairly simple, and this is all the detail I've got on it. We have about 80 members. They're primarily from the Faculty of Science, which is the lead faculty for the hub, but we do have members from all the other faculties. So they're sort of listed here. So business, I know Robert Cohn's on the call somewhere. He's from the business school, but we have members from law, art, engineering, which is where computer science lies, UNSW, medicine and health, and a few other affiliated research centres, mostly in the bio and health areas. The themes we have are, there's probably some similarities with other centres out there, but we have our fundamental data science, which is what it sounds, the math, stat, the computer science, the sort of the hard methods, and then the sort of the more focused application areas or bespoke methods areas, environmental data science, health, physical, business. We have a stream in data visualization, and then another theme in data for good, which we're looking forward to a lot. All right, so the good news is we actually have some space to move into. So this is where we are. We're just about to spring into action as a centre. So we've got a very nice lab that we've been given. It hosts about 33 people. It's the nicest place in the Red Centre, in the whole maths building where we're allocated. So everybody wants to be here. It has gas air conditioners, and its own printer. Shock horror, and even has a nice double kitchenette area, so you can go and do all your food and whatever needs there as well. So it's really nice. It's sort of sealed off, swipe card access, and it's something we can bring people to. We've been doing the business name, trademark, and logo stuff. So you can see our logo up there at the top. So marketing's had lots of fun with this. So the acronym UDASH, of course, it's pronounced UDASH, and it sort of plays off iPhone, U dash, except the focus is not on I as the individual, but you, the client who's interacting with our hub, which is good. And obviously the acronym is UNSW Data Science Hub there. The U, the stylistic U there, is sort of supposed to represent the data dots coming in. We're drawing links and connections between them all, and then through the other end of the pipeline, presumably something solid comes out the other end. Who knows? The marketers are very excited with it. I just nod and go, yes, that'll be okay. But we currently have 5 postdocs. Those are hires. We're in various degrees of moving in, and you can see one ostensibly hard at work in the picture there. And we have our project officer and business development manager. The hires are in process, and hopefully we've got some good news there soon. What I'll do is I'll talk to you rather than a bit more about structure, about some specific projects that we've started working on. The one at the top here is with the Naval Pacific Group. So this is the group that's building the new generation of Australian submarines. The picture there sort of shows a boat on the water, and you can sort of see the wake behind it. And so, if you want to sort of spot boats from satellites, then, it's easier to look for the wake than it is for the small, tiny boat. But what we're interested in is looking at objects moving under the water, so like submarines. You can't spot those as a little dot moving on the surface, but actually there is a rather complex three-dimensional wake generated under the water that we hope we can detect on the surface. So there's a lot of complex maths in there, and a lot of data science and image analysis techniques going into sort of say, can we identify these things? That's going to be quite fun. Another one is a company called Climate Friendly. They're a company that monitors the amount of carbon storage in large properties. So the idea here is that, from satellite and drone imaging, they want to sort of count the number and size and distribution of different types of trees, so they can come up with estimates of the amount of carbon storage capacity there. Now, there's a lot of image analysis techniques for doing this, but a lot of them aren't really focused on the Australian landscape, which is different from a lot of places around the world. So we're sort of tweaking some algorithms along those lines. Another slightly defense one here, we have Rex with his military gear on, charging into action. So military working dogs, you need to look after your dogs. You want to know in the field whether they're at their limits and need to be taken out of a situation, or if they've got plenty more to give. And so it might give you operational options. So what we have here is basically real-time modeling of wearables on these dogs, or dogs with Fitbits, as we call it, or hot dogs as well is the informal name for this kind of thing. So that you can kind of imagine what this kind of project is, and I'll sort of stop there, but that's a fun thing as well. With Australian Bureau of Statistics, we're sort of working on more traditional statistics problems. So again, it's the idea of big data is biased. So usually when you want to answer a question, you take a sample A that's small and it's unbiased, but because it's small, you have high variability. But often you have large data sets lying around, like the population B here. It's very large, but if you use it, you're going to get biased answers because it wasn't collected with the question in mind. And so, the theoretical question is, can we use the information in A and B and their overlap to unbias, where possible, the information in B, so you can use the combination of A and B to answer your question together. So we've got some nice theoretical development going on there. This next project is a good illustration of collaboration between two members of the ADSN. So this is working with QUT, and it's a project with the Queensland Academy of Sport and Australian Institute of Sport and the West Coast Eagles. It's about managing professional athletes' workload, training workload. So often they get injured, and of course then the interest is in looking after the athletes and managing their schedule so they can recover quickly, but without getting recurrent injuries. So the problem here is to sort of figure out what are the risk factors of the recurrent injuries, the ones that come after the initial injury, what causes those, what are the factors, so we can develop plans for individual players to get back to peak fitness as quickly as possible. The bottom one here is work with CSIRO. So it's on the idea that climate responds to being in different latent states. So the image there is a Lorenzo tractor. We've seen those before. It's in three-dimensional space. So imagine this as a latent process whizzing around in three-dimensional space. There are two modes here. Depending on which mode we're in, we might get different climate behavior. So the projects that we're working on here are saying, for a given climate system, can we identify a latent space that drives it? We don't know what dimensionality of it is. We don't know what the modes are, but can we identify this from the data? So it's a bit of math and machine learning stuff here. Final two projects, one actually not started yet, but this is to do with the astronomers. They have lots of terrible pictures of faraway galaxies, so some pictures here. And if you look at various smudges of these, an astronomer will go, oh yes, that smudge must be this, which therefore fits my theory of how this evolved. And someone else goes, no, this smudge is actually a coffee stain, and the important feature is that little dot there, which means completely the opposite to what you just said. So data sets are small, images are terrible, and analyses are contradictory, and I'm sure lots of people know there's going to be a deluge of new data, I mean petabytes and petabytes coming in of new scans from new telescopes. And so there's the obvious unsupervised machine learning techniques that have come here to classify, identify structures and then classify types of galaxies. The final project here is with New South Wales BOXAR, so that's the Bureau of Crime Statistics and Research. For those of you who live in New South Wales or the Sydney region will know that there were the Sydney lockout laws, and that's a sequence of laws introduced to modify alcohol consumption to hopefully control or reduce the number of assaults that were, at least, or the reported assaults that were occurring. So what we're looking at here is we know when the laws were brought in, we know what types of laws there were, we have various data on assault numbers and other stuff. We're trying to figure out which of the laws had the greatest effect, or perhaps in combination with other laws, or what was the quantifying the impact of each one in terms of assault numbers. So that's sort of a public policy kind of thing. When I gave a version of this talk previously, I thought it would be a great idea if I produced a really fantastic scatter plot. I had this idea in my head. On one axis, it's fundamental to translational research. On the other axis, it was academic to industry. And I have a little picture of, some of the projects on, I'd show a correlation, but then I wasn't quite sure what the correlation would mean. And then as I thought about it more, it wouldn't be quite clear what the plot would show after all. But I spent a lot of time making the plot. And so I show it to everybody now, just so you know that 20 minutes it took me to make it, it has some value for me. Okay, so that's us. This is where we've got in our journey. We're on the cusp of being established, but we're doing work now. We're open for business. We're very happy to collaborate with individuals or groups or institutions on specific projects, or put together large and multi-institution opportunities out there. So if anything we saw here was interesting, or you just want to chat anyway, please reach out for a conversation. Thanks.